Erev Shabbat Shalom. Today is not only Erev Shabbat, but it's also a minor fast day. It's an interesting phrase in its own right. But one of the four Somot Kalot, the four minor fasts that begin at sunrise and end at sunset, it's the 10th of Tevet. And the 10th of Tevet is a relatively unknown date. So unknown that after the founding of the State of Israel in 1950, the chief rabbinate wished to establish today, the 10th of Tevet, as the day of Yom HaKadish HaKlali, the day in which Kaddish should be said for anyone whose yortzeit, whose day of passing, is not known, and in fact wished to establish this day as a day in which we remember primarily the tragic events of the Shoah, of the terrible destruction of European and other and North African Jewry. And it's fascinating because that debate was really founded in a larger discussion as to whether the Shoah is worthy of its own distinct day in the calendar. The secular leadership of the State of Israel at the time pushed very strongly to link the memory of the Shoah to the uprising of the Warsaw Ghetto. The uprising of the Warsaw Ghetto began on the first day of Pesach. Even the most ardent secularists understood that that day was already taken, but it lasted from the 14th of Nisan all the way till the 27th of Nisan. And they said, then at least let's mark the fall of the Warsaw Ghetto to link the Shoah's memory to an act of physical bravery. The religious community strongly opposed that idea that the memory of the Shoah should be linked to the uprising of the Warsaw Ghetto. They saw it as an act of disrespect to the millions of martyrs who went, as the expression goes, katzon latavach, like sheep to the slaughter, without resistance. And they said, we will not and we cannot link the memory of the Shoah only to those who resisted actively without recognizing the great value of spiritual resistance. That was the official statements. The sub-statements, which are sometimes more important and more significant, was that the Shoah is unworthy of its own day. It should be included in the days we already have, perhaps on the 9th of Av, in which we recall all tragedies that have befallen the Jewish people, or perhaps on one of the already existing days, such as the 10th of Tevet. And obviously not from a place of judgment, I understand 3 years, 4 years, 5 years after the Shoah, it's hard to appreciate what transpired. And now that we're sitting 75 years later, I think it's time for us to recognize that the events that transpired 70 years ago between the tragedy of the Shoah and the amazing miracles and blessings of the founding of the State of Israel and the ingathering of the exiles that we continue to witness today are events that have cosmic religious significance, and personally for Am Yisrael, for the Jewish people, that are on par, as Rav Yaakov Meidan, the Rosh Yeshiva and Yeshivat Har Etzion, says time and again, that are on par with the exodus from Egypt and the revelation at Sinai. Clearly, when he says that, he wants to lizazea, he wants to shock the religious mindset. For the religious persona, the exodus from Egypt, we have over 70 of the mitzvot, which are explicitly stated, Zecher Yetziat Mitzrayim. Tonight, every Shabbat, every Chag, we say, in every Kiddush, as we sanctify the day, we say the day is Zecher Yetziat Mitzrayim, in memory of leaving Egypt. The revelation at Sinai, Matan Torah, the giving of the Torah, is the be-all and end-all of the religious expression. And to say that the Shoah and Hakamat Medinat Yisrael are on par, are the next most significant events that happen, it's meant to shake you up. But it's true. It's true that in many ways, those events are equivalent to the paradigm shifting events of Yetziat Mitzrayim, of Exodus from Egypt, and Matan Torah. And I think just now, 70 years later, we're starting to realize and appreciate the significance of those events. So As we mark Yom HaKadisha Klali, the day that was attempted to be the day of remembering the Shoah, I think it's perhaps an appropriate time to think of the significance and the obligations that come out of being blessed to live in a generation where after 2,000 years we've returned to our land and we witness kibbutz galuyot, the ingathering of the exiles. It is indeed a fortuitous time, a time of blessing and a time of goodness. We recall the tragedies, but at the same time we appreciate. And we appreciate the bright future, the blessings that we are witnessing in our day. Shabbat Shalom. May it be a day of comfort and consolation for all those who are in mourning.